Hey guys, my name is Raghav Dwivedi. Yesterday's recording got corrupted, so that's unfortunate. But to compensate, I'm just going to speed run through what we did yesterday. Essentially, what we did yesterday was going through the rules of procedure, but in a more understandable and rudimentary fashion. So let's begin. Um, each participant, that is you guys, will be called a delegate, and each person who is judging will be called a chair. So a judge, and a group of judges is a panel. If you've already seen the schedule outlines 5 sessions. Sessions are usually 2 to 3 hour long sittings of the summit. Uh, Essentially, what happens within an MUN is if it's an offline MUN, traditionally, you will, if it's a smaller committee like the Security Council, you will enter some place the size equivalent of a classroom. You will sit around a table as though you are, for example, say members of the parliament. The way the United Nations sits, the chairs will be sitting in front of you, and that's how the committee will function. Larger committees usually happen in auditoriums, etc. So, the sessions for the MUN this time around are kind of long, but that's to accommodate clashing events and classes. But outside of that, usually session is 2 to 3 hours long, and there's two kinds of sessions. There's a moderated session and an unmoderated session. To people seasoned in MUNs, these things as caucuses. So moderated caucuses, unmoderated caucuses. We call it sessions just for the sake of understandability. So what happens in moderated sessions is the judges are actively listening and they are actively enforcing the procedure. And that's the place for formal debate. In unmoderated sessions, delegates can stand up, walk around. Judges are not actively enforcing procedure, and that's the unmoderated session. So, within a moderated session, usually what happens is there's something called a speakers list. Now, a speakers list is a format of debate where whenever delegates raise their hands in the name of a speakers list, all of them get added to the list, and the committee goes through the list delegate by delegate. And whenever it's the delegate's turn, the delegate gives a speech of a certain amount of time. Then we move on to the next speaker until the speakers list is over. When the speakers list is over, we can open another speakers list. To simplify the procedure in our MUN, the duration of a speakers list is usually the duration of a mini session per se. The only differentiation between the sessions in the calendar is breaks, and breaks can be given within the committee based on vote as well. So it's pretty flexible that way. So essentially, how voting works within the committee is to explain a voting, I'll have to explain what motions are. So that's point number 6. Essentially, a motion is like a poll, POLL, poll. How you phrase motions can have you do a lot of things within the committee. So let's say any delegate, as long as they're not interrupting a speech, raise their hand, and then if they're recognized, they say out the motion. Let's say motion to have the committee go into break time for 30 minutes. If the chair agrees with the motion is put up on vote, and then each delegate votes, and based on the voting, the committee will either go on break or not. So that's one motion. The motion could be, let's say, your committee's agenda is demilitarization of North Korea. You can raise a motion saying motion to open a speakers list regarding the Korean War and the Soviet Union's influence in it. So that's a very specific topic in the demilitarization of the Korean Peninsula. But that's a valid motion, and if the chair accepts your motion, the motion is put up to vote, and based on the voting results, a speakers list with that motion title is open or not. Now, speakers lists that have specific motions to them, it's expected that delegates give speeches relevant to those motions. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it about motions. The way all of this happens online will be specified within the committee because many people will be new to online MUNs. It's a whole Discord procedure. But moving on, another important part about MUNs is points. So there's 4 basic kinds of points. I'll start with point of personal privilege. Point of personal privilege basically means it's raising a point is similar to raising a motion. So as long as you're not interrupting anyone's speech, you can say raise your hand and then speak a point. So you can say point of personal privilege. Can you increase the temperature of the AC? Something like that. That's a point of personal privilege. So can I go to the washroom? That's not the point of personal privilege. Point of inquiry is when you don't know how the procedure is. So you can raise your hand and say point of inquiry. How does a delegate raise a motion? That's a valid point of inquiry. Now, point of order is something that chairs are kind of afraid of because in a point of order, the delegate tells the chair that the delegate believes that the chair has mistaken in the procedure of the committee. So, point of order, the delegate of South Korea was not addressing the chair directly, etc. Be wary, do not spam point of order just for the sake of getting the chair's attention because it's not going to win you any awards. Point of information is the most interesting point. For in short, we call it POI, and POIs are used outside of MUNs as well in many in debates, etc. Essentially, a point of information is like a doubt for a speech. So whenever someone's speech is over, you can raise a point of information asking them about their speech, and you can use points of information to your advantage in the speech. So in your opponent's speech, if you find some sort of contradiction or anything, you can raise it by a question form in a POI, and yeah, the chairs can notice what you've done, and you can be awarded accordingly. I'll be skipping through right to reply. We didn't do that yesterday as well. Um, I'll go into resolutions right now. So essentially, in the beginning of an MUN, there's more formal debate because you want to know where your opponents stand. So that's usually when the moderated sessions happen. Towards the middle of the MUN, usually unmoderated sessions happen because you all want to collaborate. And towards the end, you want to make a resolution and pass it. So, for example, how in Lok Sabha, there's something called bills, and bills are passed and then they become law. Similarly, in the United Nations, resolutions exist, and resolutions are written down within the committee that voted upon and that passed. So, if I just go here and I type UNSC resolution, and this is just absolutely blind. I'm on Google. I can just click on resolutions adopted by this. This is real. This is real resolutions in the United Nations website. It's not specific to MUNs. I can simply scroll down, click on a resolution, and it'll display the resolution that the committee voted for. So here's the resolution. Here's the format, and recognizing blah blah blah. Here's the actions that they're willing to take. So that's a real resolution. In MUNs, what happens is delegates write resolutions. When do they write resolutions? They write resolutions during the unmoderated sessions when they're talking to each other, discussing each other. These resolutions are written down as a conclusion to the debate. So the delegates have debated before and they're concluding their own debate. Now, this resolution then is taken up by the chairs and it is debated upon. What happens is the resolution will be, say, projected on the screen, and then line by line, I'm going to show you the example. This is a sample resolution format. Line by line, the resolution that the delegates have written will be debated upon, and then at the end, the whole resolution will be voted for. Now, to get a resolution to the chairs, what you have to do is you have to have signatories. What are signatories? Signatories are countries that also want to debate on your resolution. So during your unmoderated session, you'll go around gaining signatories, and you need a minimum amount of signatories that depends on your committee. But yeah, that is the gist of the entire thing. There were a few doubts which I have forgotten because it's been a while, but if I suppose if there's any doubts, you can always DM me or anyone of the executive board in the upcoming Triple ITMU. And that should be it. You can email or DM on Discord me, Akash Jain, Harshit Gupta, Srijan Chakrabarti, Anil Govel, Arvind Narayan, Tanmay Goel, and Khush Patel. You can also DM Shashwat Singh, but he's not organizing this one with us because it's busy. But yeah, thank you, and again, apologies for yesterday's recording.